the review for our geometry 1 through 45 test. This would be part 2. We'll start with question number 1. It says, suppose A, B, which is a line, and C, D, or DC lie in the same plane, and they are both perpendicular to line PQ. All right, so what should I do? Because a lot of this is not, okay, maybe it's the exact same question that's on the test, but you might still get it wrong even if you know the answer because you don't know how to show work, right? Okay, what can I do to show my work here? It's going to be a long, awkward silence on this video. Draw it, okay? Kaleho, what do I draw? 2 lines. Cool. Parallel. What does that mean? Right next to each other. Well, those, right next to each other. I'm going to play dumb until you can be specific. What does parallel mean? Does anybody know what parallel means besides, I don't know, Riley probably knows, Danielle probably knows. What does parallel mean? Never touching. What would they have in common? The same what? Same slope, okay? So if I represent it like that, can I assume that those 2 lines have the same slope? Yeah? All right, let's put some points on it. Let's call this AB, and they're in the same plane. Now, what about this said that these 2 lines were parallel? Does it say anywhere up here that AB and DC are parallel? No, it doesn't. All right, so why don't we start by drawing one line? What do both lines intersect with? PQ. So maybe let's start by drawing line PQ. Okay. Now what is the relationship of PQ and AB? They are what? Caden, could you come up here and draw a line that is perpendicular to PQ? Mm-hmm. Okay, now I see that those lines intersect. How do I know that those 2 lines are perpendicular? They meet at a 90-degree angle. So our line here is not especially straight. So let's help ourselves out there so that at least we have the right notion there. Now it says, so we know that AB is perpendicular to PQ. Chaparro, what do I know about line DC? Perpendicular to what? PQ. You want to come up here and draw that for me? How do I know that those 2 lines are perpendicular? Oh, cool. Okay. So, Kaleho, now what do I know about AB and DC? They're parallel. Because 2 lines that are perpendicular to the same line are parallel to each other. Okay? Your work is the picture. Okay? Prove it. Because anything else is a guess. Okay? Prove it's not a guess. Or if you don't want to draw the picture, let's say it's the same question, if I wanted to write something that would prove that I know what's going on, I would say 2 lines that are perpendicular to the same line are parallel to each other. That sentence would cover the picture. Okay? So you can either draw the picture or write the sentence, but that's your work for that question. Okay? If you just put A, or you put A, B, and D, C are parallel, I will come back with a DSA on your paper. Okay? All right. All right, number 2 has already been done. Let's take a look at, say, number 3 has been done. Number 4 has been done. Number 5 has been done. 6 has been done. 7, 8. Is that the next one? It's 10. Okay, 10. Find the circumference of the circle to the nearest 10th. Tatum, how do I find circumference of a circle? Pi r squared. The r squared is going to tell me that that's for area. So circumference. It does use all the same parts as pi r squared, but not the same way. Okay. Jewel, do you know the formula for circumference of a circle? 2 pi r is correct. Okay. So it's really, really easy to get pi r squared and 2 pi r confused because they both have a pi, they both have an r, they both have a 2. Okay? But if I'm squaring something, it's to make an area out of it. Okay? So I want the one that is not squaring. So 2 pi r. We're going to keep the 2. For 3.14, we're going to put that in for pi. Okay, Tatum, what do I put in for r? 14.5. So as long as I've got all of this written out, okay. Okay, and this does say find the circumference and area, but specifically the question I wanted to ask first was circumference. So do you have a calculator? Okay. Here. Tell me what you get when you take 2 times 3.14 times 14.5. 91.06. What's that going to round up to if I wanted to round it to the nearest 10th? To the nearest 10th? Okay, so let's talk about rounding for a second. All right, we have our ones digit, and then we have a decimal, and then it goes tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Okay, so we want to round to that decimal point right there. So if my number is 91.06, which digit do I want to end with? Okay, but notice that the hundredths next to it would cause the tens digit to do what? Not drop. Anything that's 5 or higher is going to go up. So my final answer should be 91.1. Okay, so we want 91.1 for our circumference. Now, you could look at that and say, circumference is 91.1. It's the only one with a circumference of 91.1. If you stop there, I will DSA it. Okay, you have to also find the area. Okay, all right, so we know 91.1 for our circumference. Calejo, how do I find the area of a circle? Pi r squared. Okay, pi r squared is area. Okay, we're using 3.14 for pi. What are we using for our radius? 14.5. We want to square that. Okay, what do we get there? 660.185, is that what you said? Okay, 0.185. but we want ours to the nearest tenth. So that's going to be 660 point what? 0.2. This is centimeters squared. And this is centimeters. Okay, I've got everything I need to prove that my answer is B. Okay? Okay, you will notice that answer A and answer B are opposites of each other, meaning that you might know that one formula is 2 pi r and the other formula is pi r squared, but you don't know which is area and which is circumference. Okay, be really careful with that. Okay, you need to know which is circumference and which is area, because if you confuse them, you will get it wrong. Okay? All right. All right. Doesn't look like we did 11 before. Okay. Given this diagram and that JKL is 100 degrees, Stephanie solved the value of x, fill in the missing justifications. I've got this angle, JKL, being made up of JKM, and this angle here. What do I call it when I add angles? Okay, angle addition postulate. Okay, so then they substitute, they put in 100 because they actually tell you up there in the given that JKL is 100. They substitute 6x plus 8 for JKM. They substitute 2x minus 4 for MKL. Okay, then they simplify. They combine like terms on the right-hand side. So 6x plus 2x is 8x. 8 minus 4 is 4. Then they subtract 4 from both sides. So 100 minus 4 is 96. So 96 equals 8x. All right, how is it that they are getting 12 equals x, Caden? They're using what? More than just the word divide. Division property of what? Of equality, because we are dividing on both sides, right? Okay, they're dividing by 8 here, they're dividing by 8 there. Okay, and then the symmetric property of equality is what flips it around so that I get x equals 12 and not 12 equals x. Okay? There's not really any other work to show there. Okay, so this is one of those questions where I don't have something for you to say, hey, you need to write this down to prove that you have work. Okay, so you do need to know what's going on here. Okay, but other than that, it is what it is. Okay? Okay, we've done 12. 13, find the value of x. Anthony, what do we know about these two triangles? How do you know they're congruent? Because that line it has. Which line? The one at the top, so like this, that, and this? That doesn't actually prove that the two triangles are congruent. It proves that, let's say I labeled this and I said A, B, C, D. All of those two lines, all those tick marks prove is that AB is congruent to BC. Okay? You are right. The two triangles are congruent. But I want to know why. I don't know why. Okay, so we have one side equal to another side. Do we have any congruency postulates? Like those three letters. Side, angle, side. What else is there? Side, side, side. That's a good one. Angle, side, angle. Okay, good. So right here, I see one side congruent to another side. Okay, that's a good start. Do we see anything else that they have congruent to anything else? Angles? All right, so what angles are we talking about specifically? B angle? You have to be more specific. B could be 1, 2, 3. B could be 3 different angles. Can anybody be more specific? ABD. Okay, good. ABD is congruent to what? CBD. Okay, so we have a side and an angle. We have a side and an angle. Okay, does anybody know what else they have congruent? What side? That side in the middle. BD. You're absolutely right. Does anybody know how we know that that side is congruent to that side, or what the reason would be if we had to write a proof? No? It would be called the reflexive axiom, meaning that it's a shared side, so it has to be congruent to itself. So how are these two triangles congruent to each other? Using what? Side, angle, side. Side, angle, side. Okay? So let's say you get this question. I want you to be able to say, at least put 2 tick marks in there and right off to the side, congruent through side, angle, side. Now, if these two triangles are congruent, what do we know? What does that have anything to do? Why is that important in figuring out what the value of x is? I can set them equal to each other. Using what? How do I know that they're equal to each other? Does anybody know what this means? Can you tell me what those letters stand for? Corresponding. Good. Corresponding. What's the P? Parts. Okay. Corresponding parts of congruent. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. 3x minus 5 and 2x plus 7, or AD and CD, are corresponding parts. Because I proved that the two triangles are congruent, I know that the corresponding parts are congruent. Therefore, I can do 3x minus 5 equals 2x plus 1. Okay? But do you understand that there's more than just setting those two things equal to each other that it takes to understand why that works? Yes? Okay? From here, do I need to continue to help you solve this? No? Okay, subtract 2x from both sides, add 5 to both sides, right? You're going to get x equals 6, right? Okay. Okay, 14 we did, 15. 15, another proof. This is one that you've seen. Do we need to go over this? Okay. 16. This is what I want you to do for this. I want you to label these lines, GF, HD, let's see, IC, ED, and AB. I want you to tell me what their slopes are, because the question is parallel and perpendicular lines. How do I know if two lines are parallel? They have the same slope, okay? GF, can we tell me what the slope is? What's the numerator? What's the rise? 3. Okay, what's the run? What is it? 1, 2. You said 8? Okay, so it has a slope of 3/8. Okay, what about HD? HD, is it going up or down? Up, how much? 2, over how much? Same distance, right? 8. Okay, but that reduces to what? Okay, so we got a slope of 3/8. We got a slope of 1/4. What about IC? How far up is it going? How far over? Huh. Okay, so do we notice anything about GF and IC? Okay, but let's keep going. 4? ED, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What's the slope? 1. Okay. AB. What kind of slope does it have? Negative slope. Okay. How far down? 1, 2, 3. -8. How far over? Okay. Which lines are parallel? GF and IC. Okay. Now here's the trickier part. Which lines are perpendicular? ED and AB? No. These lines are parallel. How do I know if two lines are perpendicular? GF and AB. How do I know if two lines are perpendicular, though? Opposite reciprocal slopes. Okay, what does opposite mean? Negative and positive. Reciprocal means flip the numerator and denominator. So, AB is perpendicular to what? GF and IC. So GF is perpendicular to AB and IC is perpendicular to AB. But my work is by showing the slopes. You understand? Okay? Just simply selecting things that look parallel or things that look perpendicular is not enough. I want the slopes. Okay? If you do not list the slopes, I will put a DSA on this question. 17, write an inequality that gives the possible values of x in the diagram. What time are we out of here? Is it 50, 56, 57? Okay, so we got time. All right, write an inequality. What I want you to notice, okay, you see the tick marks here. The tick marks here are really important. That means that this line is the same length as that line, okay? And this line is the same length as this line, okay? Those triangles share two of their three sides in common, right? Okay? So, I don't know if you remember this, and this isn't obviously going to make it in a video because I don't have a camera, okay? But if my hands are the same length, right, as I increase the angle at which my palms meet, what happens to the distance between the fingertips? Gets further apart, right? As I decrease the angle at my palms, what happens to the distance between my fingertips? Closer, okay? So the greater the angle, the greater the side opposite that angle, correct? Okay? So what does that mean about the relationship between 12 and 4x plus 2? Which one is greater? 4x plus 2 is greater than 12, okay? Does that make sense? Because 119 is greater than 49. All right, now what do I do? Is that it? You should be able to go on, All right, but the answer just wants you to set up the inequality. Okay? What I want you to write is this sentence. Okay? The greater the angle, the greater or longer the side opposite. That makes sense? If I understand that principle, then I should understand how the question works. Okay, the greater the angle, the greater or the longer the side opposite of it. Okay. 18. All right, you guys have seen questions like this before. How do I find a line that's parallel to y equals 7x minus 3? Or what am I looking for in those other four equations? A slope, but a specific slope, right? What slope do I need to find? Not a reciprocal, because I want it to be parallel, right? The same slope. Well, what is the slope in y equals 7x minus 3? No, I don't have to find it. It tells me. It's 7. So I'm looking for an equation that has a slope of 7. Okay? What is the slope in equation A? It's 1, right? Is that the same as 7? No. Okay? What about B? What is the slope in equation B? Or it'd be 1, right? Because I'd have to divide by 7. So y equals, what's 7 divided by 7? Okay, so it has a slope of 1. But I'm showing my work there, right? I don't have to show my work for A, but I have to show my work to prove that B is not correct. Okay? Then what is the slope on D? Negative 1/7. Now, if they'd asked me to find a line that is perpendicular to my line, would that have worked? Yes, but because they want parallel, it does not. And there's no work that needs to be shown there because we already know that the slope is negative 1/7. So it's either nothing or it's this last one. So 3y minus 21x equals 0. How am I going to figure this out? John? How do I find the slope of that? Add 21. Oh, 21x. Okay, good. 3y equals 21x divided by 3 on both sides. Y equals what? 7x. Okay, what's the slope there? Is that the same as this slope up here? All right. So C is correct because they have the same slope. Okay? All right. (19) Given the following similar triangles, find the length of UV. What do I know about similar figures? Their sides are what? Not the same. The angles are the same. Sides are proportional. How do I write a proportion? Garrett, how do I write a proportion? Two fractions that are equal to each other is exactly correct. We want to find UV. Okay, so figure out where to put that. What do you want to do to solve for this? You got a proportion. We know that we're going to need UV. If you want to, we can say that UV is X. The UV on the other one is 10. Okay, so you're saying that RS corresponds to UV. Okay, good. Now what? No, it probably couldn't be 10. Think about what you have. Look here. What does VT correspond to on the other triangle? SQ. Can I use 20, 10, 10, and X in a proportion? Okay. Can we just put them in random places? 10 over 20. Okay, are you talking about like the red 10 over the red 20? Or are you talking like the blue 10 over the red 20? What are you? Because there's multiple different ways to look at this. Red 10 over red 20. Perfect. That's fine. And there are other ways for it to work, but that will work. Okay? But if I'm going to do red 10, red 20, then what do I need to put on the right side? The 10 goes on the bottom. Yeah. Okay. Because it's basically we're saying little triangle over big triangle equals little triangle over big triangle, right? Like that. Excellent. Now what? 10 times 10 divided by 20. 10 times 10 is 100. 100 divided by 20 is 5. Okay. Does that mean? No, you're right because 20 is double 10, right? Sure. Okay. So, but you need to show that you need to show that level of understanding. Like that can't be all in your head and nothing on your paper. You know what I mean? So if you have that and you can write that down, I'll give you credit for that. Okay? Because you're seeing the scale factor, even though you're not using the vocabulary to go with it. You're using that understanding. Okay? All right, number 20. ABCD and EFGH are similar polygons. The corresponding sides have a ratio of 5 to 4. If the perimeter of ABCD is 47, what's the perimeter of EFGH? This is very similar to 19 because it says that they're similar. Okay? So what is the relationship of the sides of similar polygons? They are proportional, which means I can set up A, and a proportion is two fractions equal to each other. Okay, now the important thing to remember is ABCD to EFGH. Now, when we're talking about perimeters, the ratio of the perimeters is the same as the ratio of the sides. Okay, the scale factor stays the same perimeter to sides. Okay, so we can do ABCD over EFGH, which would be 5 to 4. Okay, now over here, I'm going to be doing A perimeter over E perimeter. What is the perimeter of ABCD? 47. And we are looking for the perimeter of the other, right? So now can I cross multiply and divide? 37.6. I'm going to take your word for it. Okay, because I don't have the answer key memorized. I could probably check here. Okay. Okay, so that's the questions that we didn't cover in the other class. So between the two videos, you should have an explanation of just about every question that's on the test. Okay, are you guys good to go? Okay, let me hit stop here, and before I leave, I'll get both videos posted.